COVID-19 is here to stay. This is by design, with foreknowledge that it's going to be here to stay. How can I be so sure? I'm going to lay it all out. I'm going to explain it to you and break it down how this works. And it's not that complicated. And once you understand it, you'll be able to prove it to yourself. Okay. So the vaccine is touted as the solution to ending the pandemic. Okay. They know it's not going to fucking work. How do they know that? Well, the vaccines work, right? They're safe and effective, as all the propaganda says. All the CDC and the government and everybody's saying they're safe and effective. Now, we can talk about some of the safety issues with blood clots and the spike protein and whatnot. But really what I want to get into is talking about the efficacy of it in this video. And the efficacy of it is, well, let's see. What is the goal of the vaccine? Is it to reduce the infectivity so that you're not as deeply infected, so that you have some immune response to it when you encounter the virus, either one of the so-called wild type, which isn't really wild anyway because they fucking created it in a lab. And if they didn't create it in the lab, then where's the fucking pangolin that has it? An indoor pangolin that doesn't transmit it outside because this disease doesn't transmit effectively outdoors. So where's the indoor animal that was transmitting COVID-19 that rapidly jumped to humans and rapidly became easily transmissible human to human, originating in Wuhan, China, within a mile's radius of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where bat coronavirus research was being done, which was claimed to be by Fauci, not gain of function, where they funded it through my tax dollars and your tax dollars, running it through EcoHealth Alliance, and then covered it all up and published research indicating that they wanted to distance Peter Daszak and Ralph Baric wanted to distance themselves from Fauci so that it looked like it was independent research. A bunch of fucking lies, cover up, lies from within the U.S. government, lies from the fucking Chinese Communist Party who wanted to deny that the virus was transmissible, to deny that it came from the lab, to deny everything, right? Just bullshit. It's not racist to call the Chinese Communist Party fucked up and corrupt. They're a bunch of fucking liars. They do influence the Chinese culture and society, but it's very important to also distinguish the subjects of that society who are victims of the Chinese Communist Party from the fucking corrupt Chinese Communist Party. Now, back into the point that I'm trying to make in this video. How do we know that this is here to stay? We know it's here to stay because the virus is not going to be stopped by the vaccine. How do we know that? They said, again, say safe and effective, right? Okay, so what happens in evolution? In evolution, what happens is you'll get genetic mutations that cause this. This is change. A mutation is a change. And the change evolves to adapt, to survive in the new environment, to thrive in the new environment, to the changed environment. And we see it all over. We see it in fruit flies. We see evolution because fruit flies rapidly reproduce. We see it especially in high rapidity. We see fast evolution in microorganisms. And we're dealing with a virus now. We're dealing with variations on a virus. More and more and more variants. Where are they coming from? These are called evolutionary variations. Right? The virus changes. It goes through a different organism. There's a mutation occurs. It transfers to another person. Now, we know that happens. Now, what happens when somebody had been vaccinated for the original quote-unquote wild type, which again isn't fucking wild, and I already had to take a divergent path to explain why it isn't fucking wild. It was a lab creation. 99% likely it was a lab creation or something that was the result of something in the Wuhan Virology Institute. Wuhan Institute of Virology. So what happens when somebody's been vaccinated for the original so-called wild type and they get one of these variants? We're finding out now that they're less effective. The vaccine is less effective and people are getting infected. Low levels of infection, they're transmitting it. Now, is it the goal to reduce somebody's likelihood of death? Was that the goal? Maybe that's one of the goals that I hear. I do hear that goal. If you get the vaccine, you may still get COVID, but it's not going to be as bad. It's not going to be as bad. Okay, so you get the vaccine and you're a little bit safer. Okay, there's always that fear in the background, that fear. They want to keep you with the fear. There's nothing you can do. Once you get it, you're a goner. They want to keep you and they want to make you feel guilty. They use emotional manipulation also, right? Look at this person. They were advocating for conspiracy theories on a website that promoted Donald Trump. And now look at them. Now they're in ICU and they're dying and they died and it's their fault. They want to put guilt on you. If you don't get the vaccine, then you're taking up those ICU beds for people who need it, who got their vaccine and they had another condition that had nothing to do with it, but now you're preventing them from getting treatment. Their death is on your hands. They want to put guilt into you. They want to put fear into you. They want to use all sorts of emotional reasoning. This is why I always advocate for using logic and reason. Thinking through these fucking things, okay? Now, I may talk a little in an animated fashion, right? That's because I'm trying to fucking get through to you. And these things matter, right? You can't think through these problems by just following whatever they're telling you. It's not fucking science. It's perception management. It's the oldest fucking trick in the book. It's fucking warfare propaganda called perception management. Go look up fucking perception management. Figure out what the fuck it is. Go look up Edward Bernays. That's how the country's managed in the West. That's how the West is managed, how America is managed. We're managed through perception management. Historically, it came through the media. Now it's coming through social media, and they're trying to patch up all those holes. So again, how do we know that this is going to continue? How do we know? Well, how do we know? First of all, let's look at it the other way. Let's flip the motherfucking question around the other way. How can we be so certain that these vaccines are going to eradicate COVID-19? Right. What happens if we get in a vaccine escape variant that's going to be resistant to the vaccines, where people can get it and transmit it to other people? Well, then the vaccine's no longer 100% effective. Right. Now we're hearing numbers as low as 40% effective. Right. You might not. You got a 40% chance you won't get infected if you got the vaccine, if it's one of those Delta variants. And from there you can get Delta and you get subvariants from there. So in the middle of a pandemic, like more than a year into, we're saying October, November, we have the outbreak in Wuhan, China. It comes to America. They continue to deny it. The CDC, the health departments, the WHO, the Chinese Communist fucking party, all denying human-to-human transmission. Eventually it comes to America. They're still denying it. We got President Trump saying the cases are going to be down to 0 in February. Bullshit, motherfucker. You don't know that, and most likely that's not true. I'm living in the Santa Clara County. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's like 8 million people here. 3 international airports. Flights to and from China every day. And you're telling me that October, November, December, January, in February, 5 months into this thing, and nobody in the U.S. has it. No evidence of community transmission at this time. All the way until fucking March they were saying that. And I was saying bullshit. Bullshit, you're fucking lying. I was saying that. I've said that for months. You don't know that. It's making an assertion based on ignorance. You don't know that there's no community transmission. You say you don't have evidence of community transmission. Did you test? Now, when I got sick in March and I went into the clinic and I asked for a test, I want to get some tests, I'm sick, I'm really sick. What did they tell me? They said you can get a flu test. Okay, so let's do the flu test. Let's eliminate that possibility. Okay, so I don't have the flu. Well, maybe the flu test failed. Maybe it was a bad test. Or maybe they said, well, most likely you probably have a bad viral infection. It's not the flu. So then can we test for that other thing that's going around and see if that's that COVID-19 stuff? And they said, no, because we don't have any evidence of community transmission. I said, okay, so how can we tell? And they said, the health department won't let us. Won't let us test for evidence. And then they continue to make the assertion, no evidence, and we're not going to look for it. And if you ask for it, and if you come to us and you show us all the signs that there is evidence, we're going to turn a blind eye. We're going to close our eyes at what's right in front of us. The most obvious situation here is like you got sick. There's a pandemic going around. You're really fucking sick. It's not the flu. There's a good chance it's probably that other thing. And they're still going to say no evidence. They're lying. They lied. They kept it going. They made sure that whatever they did was going to make sure that there was going to be a pandemic. Now, if they did this on purpose or they're just fucking stupid, I don't know. I would most likely assume that the vast majority of the people in charge are just going along to get along, and they're doing what they're doing. And it's part of their job. And if they say they can't test and they say there's no evidence, they're going to copy and repeat what their other people and their superiors are telling them. All down the chain, just like it always is, just like everything's taught to us from school to obey and follow orders and follow directions, not think for yourself. That's what it's been inculcated in us as a culture and a society. We're not supposed to think for ourselves. You know, you get a motherfucker like me who thinks for himself, they're not going to fit in society. You're not going to fit in society. People like me end up in fucking prison. And I'm lucky that I'm not. Because I don't fit in anywhere because I think for myself. That's not something accepted by society. They don't like it. So, I digress. That's the way things are. They copy each other. Now, we know that we've got this pandemic. We know that a bunch of people have gotten it. By March, people got it. They backtraced it all the way back until January, February. They found out people were getting sick. They figured out that people had died. They'd had the COVID-19. They eventually found some evidence from way back when that people had gotten it, gotten sick, and died. And then what they got is they got people they got all these perverse incentives going on about, you know, the motivation for financial incentive to report a COVID death and maybe possibly a comorbidity or whatever, possibly COVID. Right. We got that going on too, which affected the numbers as well in the other direction. But again, I digress. We know that it's going to be here to stay. For the simple fact is that it's in widespread, and we've got evolutionary vaccine escape variants, a large number of them, right? A large number of them. And what are they doing to stop it? They're going to continue to keep these vaccines as telling us it's the only thing that's going to work, despite evidence to the contrary. Right? I've got here this study here. This study was published online June 21st, 2021. Okay, so the research that went into this took a long ass time, right? And it's a meta-analysis. So I'm just going to read it to you. The background: repurposed medicines may have a role against SARS-CoV-2 virus. The anti-parasitic ivermectin with antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties has now been tested in numerous clinical trials. Okay. Areas of uncertainty. We assess the efficacy of ivermectin treatment in reducing mortality, in secondary outcomes, and in chemoprophylaxis among people with or at high risk of COVID-19 infection. Right. So they wanted to figure out, okay, so if you've got COVID-19 or if you're at very high risk, we're going to take a list. We're going to see a bunch of studies. We're going to do a search and find out people who have had ivermectin who are either at high risk or who were already infected with it, and what the outcomes were on the studies. So they took like 12 different studies, a meta-analysis of 15 different trials found that ivermectin reduced risk of death compared with no ivermectin. Average risk ratio of 0.38, 95% confidence interval, 0.19 to 0.73, a number of 2,438, moderate certainty evidence. Pretty good evidence there. The result was confirmed in a trial sequential analysis using Simonian layered method that underpinned the adjusted analysis. There was also robust against a trial sequential analysis using Biggerstaff treaty method. Low certainty evidence found that ivermectin prophylaxis reduced COVID-19 infection by an average of 86% with a 95% confidence interval, 79% to 91%. Secondary outcomes provided less certain evidence. Low certainty evidence suggested that there may be no benefit with ivermectin. Right? Low certainty evidence suggested no benefit with need for medical ventilation, whereas effect estimates for improvement, deterioration clearly favored ivermectin use. Severe adverse events were rare among treatment trials, and evidence of no difference was assessed at low certainty. Right, so that basically what this says is, it says that they pretty much the people who took it didn't have any serious events, any adverse events, and there was pretty good evidence to show that it prevents them from getting infected. It stops it. And so why do they want to suppress this information on social media? You'll hear all kinds of news stations, which all get their fucking money from the pharmaceutical companies that are funding their advertisement. They get advertisement on the news, right? And it's a fake fucking news telling you that ivermectin doesn't work. They say, well, it's a dewormer for horses. Why are you taking horse medicine? Yes, there are things that are used for animals and also humans. You can get vitamin B12 shots for fucking swine and fucking cattle and sheep. Does that mean that vitamin B12 doesn't work in fucking humans? It fucking works. It fucking works. I've taken it. It fucking works. A lot of people have taken it. I've injected fucking animal vitamin B12 in me, and it fucking works. Okay, just because it says for animals doesn't mean that it's not going to work if you take it in as a human. You got to think about it. What is it really? Does it say cyanocobalamin? Well, there's a fucking chemical formula for that. You can go and look it up and you can figure out what's in there. Now, the different regulations that apply to whether something may be approved for humans or approved for animals, there's different criteria for those things. Like where you might get some drug like pentasan sulfate, which is approved in Europe for human use, but not approved for human use in America, only for animals. People will buy that shit. They'll buy that shit. Yeah, my dog Bailey needs this, he's got arthritis, and they get a fucking vet prescription for that shit, and they go and they fucking inject it because it works. It works in many cases better than some of the other alternatives like Orthovisc, which is a very good alternative to the cortisone injections that they'll give for arthritis and degenerative cartilage disease, degenerative joint diseases. So you get Orthovisc, but one step up from that, you get pentasan sulfate. In America, you can't fucking get it. Only animals can get it. Why? Because they have this regulation that makes it almost impossible to get that through. It's hard to get through. Healthcare is not optimized for patient health in the United States. It's just not. You can find this in so many examples that it's not optimized for patient health. You can find it in state regulatory bodies that don't let people who got their degree in medicine in another state come to that state to get licensed. Now, the idea that the best doctors exist only in that state, it's like an impossibility. Like you're going to get, like you passed your medical exam, you finished your training in Idaho, and now you want to go and practice medicine in New York. That ain't going to fly. They're not going to let that happen. Why? Well, it's a jobs protection program. It's a jobs protection program to keep the market less competitive in New York, to keep those doctors rates high and competition low. That's not optimized for patient health. There's a million examples why this is the case. ARRA, all that money, ARRA, for the HITECH Act that went fucking money from the Obama administration where they pumped all that money into all the institutional medicine. None of it went to private practice. So who are the innovators? Who are the people who are pushing the forefront of medical innovation, taking the practice to a new level? Not the institutions. The institutions are doing the same old shit, and they're just taking money from people, and they're slow dinosaurs. They don't innovate. They don't optimize for patient health. They're not going away. So they're not going to take any risks. They're going to all do the same thing they always do. It's a big fucking bureaucracy. This is socialized medicine that we have in the U.S. You have free healthcare. It's fucking wonderful, isn't it? No, it sucks. Healthcare sucks. Okay? I digress. The point being for that, the sub point is that healthcare is not optimized for patient health. Now, we know this is the case, and we know that it's the case that we have an effective treatment on our hands that doesn't have high risk, prevents COVID-19. We know it's the case that viruses evolve. So we got viruses that will evolve. We got an effective treatment that will stop infection. That information is being suppressed for financial reasons. And they're saying, now what they're doing, the most perverse thing that they're doing is they're saying that it's a disease of the unvaccinated because they want to blame motherfuckers who didn't get the vaccine so they can get people against people and make them fight. They want infighting. They want people who didn't get the vaccine to be blamed for the fucking virus, which was funded by your tax dollars, going through the NIH, going through EcoHealth Alliance, going to that fucking lab in China to fund Dr. Xi and all that bullshit that they fucking covered up through the Chinese Communist Party, and Fauci getting on the stand, lying to fucking Congress, lying to me, lying to you. We all know Fauci is a fucking liar. That motherfucker lied, and we can see it in his face. You can see it in his body language. You can see it, and if you look in the motherfucker's eyes when he is talking, and he is blundering and blithering, and he can't even get his fucking microphone on. You can see that scared motherfucker is lying through his fucking teeth. It's all in his fucking body language. You can see it. You could probably smell it if you were close enough to him. You could smell the fear on him because he knows he's fucking lying. And we still don't have any, but we still can't even get that motherfucker. And what do they want to? They want to pin it on him? No, they want to protect him. Right now they got some other dude to the Surgeon General to do the PR, but that's not working very well either. They got all these news stations, and you look at the downvotes. You look at the downvotes on those news stations and say, ivermectin doesn't work because it's for animals. Can't work for humans. Can't work for. There's no evidence. There's fucking evidence right here out of this research, this study with 7 different researchers, and a meta-analysis out of the UK. This is the gold fucking standard for evidence. And this is not going away. This study is not going to be censored. It's right here on the National Institutes of Health website. Now, YouTube may be censoring comments that link to the NIH because they don't want motherfuckers to discuss science. And that's why you got to fucking make your own fucking videos. And you got to tell it like it is, like I am. I'm the only one who asks, who else has the fucking balls to get out there and say, fuck you, WHO, fuck you, Susan Wojcicki, fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg, you're wrong, I'm fucking right, here's the evidence, if I'm wrong, then fucking correct me. But if you censor me, it's just going to underscore my case, and it's just going to prove that the only way that you can perpetuate the fucking lies that you do is through censorship. And that isn't going to fucking work, because I know it. And I'm going to inspire you to look at the evidence, logic, and reason and come to the own conclusions that you can come to because you know that they're true, because you've looked at the evidence, not because you've accepted the fucking bullshit that they're feeding through you through all these fucking state organizations, these three-letter alphabet gangs of the FDA, the fucking CDC, the motherfucking WHO, all lies. Don't believe their bullshit. We have a treatment that's effective that could stop it. And now what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep it going so they can keep those fucking booster shots going. They could stop it by using a prophylactic that works, that's been proven to work, that's shown to work with a high degree of confidence, that's shown to have very low side effects, very few side effects, with a high degree of confidence, that fucking works. Safe and effective treatment, ivermectin, works. And what are they doing? They're suppressing that. Why? Fucking money. They want to keep giving those booster shots. People are dying because of this bullshit, and they don't fucking care. Okay? Now, if you care, if you actually give a shit, then you can fucking do the research yourself. And if I'm wrong, then fucking tell me where I've made the mistake. Look at the fucking study and read it. Just read it yourself. Ivermectin for prevention and treatment of COVID-19 infection, a systematic review, meta-analysis, and trial sequential analysis to inform clinical guidelines. This information is not going away. This information, I'm right. I'm fucking right on this. And it's going to be coming out, and then eventually, it's going to take time to come out. Eventually, this information is going to be widely enough known. And the only way they're going to be able to suppress it is to censor everybody. Right? And that's why even somebody like me, a motherfucker who has almost no followers, is going to keep saying this shit. And you need to as well. Don't be cowed. Don't be afraid. Come out and fucking say it. Read it. Do the analysis yourself. If you're wrong, then you'll have people who are smarter than you correct you. That's the way it fucking works.